Uh, Good morning, everyone. Uh, just Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are having a good morning so far. Welcome to my workshop in reading skills. Yeah, my name is Lewis, and I will be your speaker for this presentation. Okay. Um, just to fill you in, yesterday's workshop was actually supposed to be on reading skills, but there was a bit of a mishap, and it was actually time management that I had gone through yesterday, and I apologize. Um, and with that in mind, I'll just make this day's topic as reading skills for now. Okay. Um, it's actually pretty nice to see everyone here, and I'm sure that all of you came for the same purpose, and that is to learn how to improve your reading skills and learning how to read effectively. I hope that this workshop will be able to help our fellow students, and at the end of the workshop, you will be able to gain hopefully something out of it, and will be able to take in some ideas, use them to make some positive and or better changes in your life. Yeah. So during this time, I will have to ask everyone to please turn off your mics and or video from your end of the Zoom meeting. Keep your questions at the end of the workshop, as there will be a discussion afterwards. To make sure there are no interruptions, I will also be having one of our staff members turn off the audio and visual to ease the process. And without any further delay, let us begin. And please, a reminder is just to please keep your questions at the end of the discussion. Thank you. So, starting off, when we actually start reading, it's a very important skill, and it's something that should be mastered as soon as possible, especially when you are in school, elementary and high school, or even before university. For those doing this workshop, I will first be covering some of the most common reading mistakes that people make, explaining how people make them. And afterwards, I will be covering up on some of the ideas and advice as to how you could actually learn to read better. It's possible that someone in the audience is actually using certain techniques that actually make them believe that their reading is much better than others, or using certain methods that may actually not be helping them at all. There are also probably some solutions or techniques that they use that could be helpful, but I'm sorry if some of them actually overlap with what you have done. But these are some of the methods that I would use. Some of them are also based on university style techniques. So without any more further delay, we can just start off with the mistakes first, the common reading mistakes. So starting off with the first common mistake is that students tend to read everything the same way, be it journal articles, Excel files, research papers, children's stories, poems, whatever. Yeah, it's usually a very bad idea, as it shows no organization in the way that you gather the theme or gist of the reading. The overall important theme of the reading is something that many people usually miss because they read everything word for word and nothing is actually understood from it. So if you read a journal article, some people tend to also read the same way with other types of reading passages, which is not a very good idea. So if you read a poem, for example, and compare it to a table of data from an Excel file, should you be reading it the same way? No, definitely not, because the way the information is presented is very different. When reading poetry, for example, it's possible that you have to read everything word for word, because every single word or line in the poem can actually express a different meaning of the poem, or provides more in-depth information towards what the overall poem means. But for tables of data, you may have to use formulas. You may have to analyze a certain equation to actually help you use it properly during an exam, or a certain report that you have to make. So please do keep that in mind when you're reading, and try not to make that type of mistake. And just be aware, it's always good to read each piece of data a different way, and just be aware of that. Yeah. The second thing that people actually would make is not wanting to miss anything. Well, it's actually a very common thing that many people have done. This is something that I had been doing for high school as well. And the important thing that I always think is important is to read everything word for word and to memorize them in the complete sentence, which is very ineffective during an exam. Yeah. You would probably have to go back on some of the previous texts and recheck the important points you had missed out earlier when you're reading more effectively. You just need to get the actual important points that actually stands out from the reading of in the chapter. It doesn't require you to read the entire text, as it doesn't benefit you at all. Of course, it's actually okay if you miss out on some important points once in a while. If your instructor believes it's important, they would point it out for you. Yeah, because they probably believe that it is necessary for you to know for the final exam, probably something you need to know for the next course, as you're taking a prerequisite, for example. All these points actually are considered when your instructors actually teach you the course. They will be aware of what points that you need to cover and whatnot. Next one. Reading passively. Yeah, reading passively. This doesn't, that means actually reading without interacting, understanding, or making any connections with the reading at all. You're not actually putting enough thought, enough understanding towards what you're trying to read. Yeah, you're pretty much a robot, reading everything word for word in every sentence, which is not effective. You feel that you actually accomplished something difficult by reading an entire chapter within 30 minutes or something. But ask yourself this, did you understand what the chapter was talking about? Did you understand what the theme is? What important points the chapter was covering? These are some of the questions that you probably need to consider when you finished reading a certain passage. If you did not understand anything, any part of that chapter, then you're in big trouble. Yeah, you may actually have certain changes that you need to make in your reading. So whenever you're reading a chapter, it's always important to actually take notes first. Perhaps write down some questions that you believe correlate with what you had just finished reading, and probably share these connections with other classmates that can actually help you build more understanding towards what you had just covered for the week. Yeah. So these are some of the mistakes, and just continuing on just a little bit more is reading to memorize. When that happens, you're actually trying to remember as much as you can, but it's actually important for you to know how to evolve that form of reading with new knowledge. In other words, it's actually important to to understand things in a deeper level. So for this mistake, you're actually just reading the sentences that actually are written in the chapter, but you're not actually building any connections towards what you just read. And as I said earlier, you're not actually making any effort to understand things in a deeper level. So what that means is that you could, if you can, try to summarize things at that stage, because yeah, using this way, you can actually memorize things in the longer term, and you'll be able to apply that knowledge with other aspects. So please do keep that in mind. And lastly, the final mistake that people do make is highlighting. Yeah, highlighting. What does that mean? Well, you pretty much highlight everything that you think is important, but that does not really help. The focus is on highlighting the important parts of the text, not large portions of it. You're actually wasting highlighter ink as well as your time when you're doing this. Yeah, the important thing is always just be able to highlight the main points and not every single sentence for it. Okay, so now that I've finished listing out the errors of reading, it's also important to know what the advice is and in terms of how to read better. Of course, I'm sure that regarding my ideas or advice for the presentation, some students probably have already have some clear-cut strategies as to how to read and probably have their own techniques. So if, again, some of my ideas overlap with what you say, I apologize, but hopefully there will be other ideas there that can be helpful for you. Yeah, so without further delay, I'll just start. So one method that I would generally use, and I'm sure that many of my friends also do, is to find a good place to read. Yeah, this idea may seem a bit too general, maybe not too specific, but sometimes using this technique can actually be effective if used the right way. In terms of location, it's important that you find a place that you can fully concentrate at your best with less distractions, less phone calls, access to social media, Facebook, internet. All those things can actually affect how you can actually do your work on a given basis. So location can also, be very important. Let's say if you go on to a cafe compared to staying at home, that can actually be, if you find that to be more helpful for you in terms of doing your reading, then please go ahead. I, for one, usually go outside when I want to actually continue on with my work or prepare myself for a final exam. Of course, the noise level is also something to consider. Good lighting, obviously, go to a place that actually has not too bright lights or something like that. That's something that I would consider. Of course, if you feel that staying at home is the best choice where you have everything you need, then feel free to do so. Yeah. Distractions can be, of course, anything that can bother you. That's why I usually choose not to stay at home when I'm working. Yeah. Next, excuse me, is to actually preview the material before you start engaging with the text. So what that means is within the reading, it's best to actually, before you start reading the whole chapter, there could be certain parts of the book, such as the table of contents, certain abstracts or introduction paragraphs that could help you get a general summary of what to expect in terms of understanding what the whole chapter is referring to. If you are actually able to refer to that piece of information, that could be helpful in helping you gather a better understanding and to be ready and to prepare yourself in terms of what you think is important and to know what to expect in the reading. Yeah. So as I said earlier, yeah, check the table of contents, summary, abstracts, even the title itself can actually give you an idea of what to explore in the passage. And yeah, so another solution is using vocabulary. Yeah, learning new vocabulary. So sometimes there may be some words in the reading that actually may seem new to you, or maybe it's a word that you've never heard of before, which is normal. It's very common for people to not know a word. That's why we have dictionaries, thesauruses, whatnot, to actually help you build more understanding. If you don't know what a word is, then it's a great way to start building up your English too. And by doing this, yeah, as I said earlier, look up in a dictionary or a thesaurus you know, to actually help you expand your own vocabulary as well. So as an English teacher myself, I usually ask students to use this technique whenever they're actually learning something new, and it actually pretty much helps them uh, do better when it comes to writing papers such as paragraphs, essays, research papers as well. And perhaps you can use that too when you can. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. Even though of course Googling it is actually obviously one of the easiest ways to actually uh, get a better understanding of a word as quickly as you can too. So another idea I believe is I'm sure many students do use is taking notes. Uh, yes, this is actually a very old school technique, and but I believe many people would agree that it is also one of the most effective techniques in helping students build understanding to to a chapter, yeah, or to whatever, to a meeting or even a seminar, yeah. So what I would suggest doing when you're taking notes is after every paragraph, write one or two notes down, um, maybe in short sentences. It's up to you. Uh, they're all pretty much there to help you understand what you just read, to help you uh, gather your thoughts at that moment once you finish reading that sentence or the end of a paragraph. This is what I usually do when I finish reading each passage. Yeah. By using this technique, you don't actually have to reread the whole passage or each paragraph just to refresh your thoughts onto a certain part that you had read earlier. Uh, use this. I believe that it's important to use this opportunity to build some connections in your life too, such as maybe certain previous readings you've done could relate to connections in your life or experiences or stories that correlate with what you have had understood in your life. And you can use this to share with your other fellow students as well as your teachers in your next Zoom meeting, for example. Um, yeah, if these experiences can build similarities or controversies to what you have just read, then yeah, feel free to share them. I'm sure that these stories can be very interesting if you do. Yeah, this is something that I find very engaging in terms of student discussions whenever we actually start talking about a chapter that we had finished. Mhm. Oh, aside from taking notes, questions, as I said earlier, can also help build more critical thinking. The five W's, who, what, where, when, why, obviously. How is also something that you could consider. Mhm. So this is from an article. I actually found that this is uh, quite helpful in helping students understand what aspects of a passage that they have to look into. And it's called Thieves. Yeah. So obviously, it's an acronym that is focusing on different parts of a chapter. The title. Yeah. So what is the title? Pretty much, it's pretty straightforward. Headings. Yeah. In this case, in terms of headings, it could be the secondary titles to what you are expected to focus on and be aware of what to understand in terms of the topic. Yeah, introductions. Usually, they should be in the form of first paragraphs or even possible abstracts to the story. Um, first sentence of every section, I would believe is it could also be uh, right after each heading. I would say for each in the first paragraph can be something to look into. Yeah. And visuals and vocabulary. So in terms of visuals, it could be in the form of pictures or charts or even a mind map that actually could be helpful in giving you an idea of what you had just finished looking into, where it can give you pretty much a small cheat sheet of helping you better understand what you had just covered through. Yeah. Um, at the end of the article or end of chapter questions. So sometimes I'm sure in some of your textbooks, you may be able to see some of this information available at the end of every chapter from a textbook. These questions are pretty helpful in building your critical thinking skills. And as a result, if you actually do those questions, I think that it can help you prepare better in terms of whatever final exam or paper written essay that you actually have to do um, for that course. Pretty much, of course, I'm sure it's optional for some uh, teachers to actually have you do them. I'm sure not all teachers push students to do those kind of chapter questions. It's really pretty much something that you can consider doing to help you improve your grade, yeah, as well as your reading skills. And lastly, summarize your thinking. Summarize your thinking is pretty much very straightforward. So after reading a chapter, you just want to gather all the main points from that part and ask yourself what you have just read. Yeah, can you put those main thoughts into a paragraph? And can you actually have other students share their thoughts with you to see if you can add more towards your summarized thinking of each chapter? So it's pretty much a good way, I think, that this acronym is made. Perhaps you can use some of these ideas to your own advantage. Yeah. Okay, so bear with me. We are uh, almost done with the last slide. So chunking. Chunking is the idea of actually um, grouping certain ideas that actually correlate together, um, enabling you to make stronger connections with what you had read, with possible other subtexts that your instructor actually had you uh, read. So in a course, there may be certain main textbooks that you have to refer to before you are studying for your exam. But I'm sure that for some courses, your instructors may have some articles that they think are interesting enough to have you look into. Of course, they could be optional readings. And usually, I think if you are able to have optional readings available for your course, do have the time to spend 5 to 10 minutes on each of them and see if you can actually group those ideas from those subtexts into the main reading. And by doing this, you can actually draw like a larger web of ideas, which I call a mind map, where you can actually connect those ideas and be able to help you organize your thoughts in a more clear and precise manner. Yeah. So uh, aside from mind maps, you can also use post-it notes, which I think are quite helpful. Yeah, where you can just put in a textbook or even your room, where you can just gather all your thoughts uh, from that from the readings that you have looked into. Yeah. So lastly, this is just exactly what the acronym is referring to earlier, is summarizing what you had just looked into. And be sure to actually do that if you can after reading every passage, every chapter. Uh, Doing this actually does take some skill, but it's not difficult enough for you to discourage you from not doing it. Yeah, and pretty much it is important to always learn to gather what each passage is talking about, what are some other ideas that they are referring to and how it connects to the overall gist of the course. If you can also build some connections to your life, as I said earlier, or other previous texts that can be crucial or helpful in building your reading skills, your critical thinking abilities, and so forth, and so on and so forth. And also be able to review everything that you had looked into, just to help you prepare better for your final exam. Yeah. All these techniques, I've actually, in my opinion, I have used 2 or 3 of them, and I honestly think that they're very helpful. Of course, everyone does things differently. If you feel free, if you think that they're helpful, feel free to use them. If you have other techniques, please feel free to share them as well during the discussion. So this is pretty much the end of the workshop, and there will be a discussion afterwards. If anyone has any questions or whatnot, please feel free to turn on your audio and your mic, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay. Please just turn on your mic and raise your hand if you can. Yeah. I'm just going to unmute all for a second. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah. Any questions? Okay. I also see that there is a peer mentor actually in this session, and I was actually asked to have the peer mentor introduce themselves for the workshops by Sonia, our senior academic advisor. The peer mentor is actually, if some students are not aware of them, but peer mentors are actually here to help students whenever they have certain academic concerns in their education or exams. They're pretty much very helpful students that can actually help them better understand what to prepare for their course. So for the peer mentor, if you can just briefly introduce yourself to all the participants in the group, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hello, I'm Sunny. Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat your name, please?
Sunny.
Sunny? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sunny, what program are you from?
Tourism.
Tourism?
Semester. Yeah. Tourism semester.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, what semester are you in? Sorry?
3.
Oh, semester 3. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Welcome. I actually did you come yesterday as well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, I actually forgot to introduce you. Yeah. Thank you, for introducing yourself. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
I have one question.
Okay, sure.
Because my reading, when I'm reading a book or ask, I feel low, and what structure I can read. Maybe I can try to read faster.
Oh, sorry, are you asking like how, like, are there any ways to read faster? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Reading
yes.
faster. That's a pretty good question. Usually there are two methods of reading that I believe many people actually use, and that is skimming and scanning. Yeah, usually those are the techniques that people use, but they should be used in different types of readings. like at the beginning of the workshop, I mentioned the differences of passages such as Excel files, tables of data, and maybe a poem, for example. Please be careful not to read those types of those types of passages in the same way, and they should be the way that they show the information is very different. So when it comes to reading faster, they should only be used for, I would say, skimming techniques, where you're just finding very specific pieces of information from a paragraph, for example, or if you have to look for a certain vocabulary word that your instructor had asked you, you can do that. But when it comes to reading a whole paragraph or let's say a whole chapter, reading fast may not be a very good way for helping you build understanding. If you want to, it does take some time to read faster. If you don't want to read word for word, Sunny, it's just to focus on the main points of every sentence, if there are any. After reading a paragraph, ask yourself this: what did you just read? What did you understand? Yeah. Do you need to answer the 5 W's? Who, what, where, when, why, for example. And just as I said earlier, make 1 or 2 pieces of notes to help you understand each paragraph. So that's what I would do. Yeah. So reading faster, it does take some time, and eventually one day, Sunny, you probably don't need to read every single word in a sentence. Yeah, because you will move past that eventually. Yeah, yeah. Just focus on the important parts of a paragraph. Then that would be the way to go. I would suggest doing that first. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to ask questions? Any certain concerns in terms of their reading skills that they wish to share, or find ways of improving? Yeah.
I just want to ask, like, hello?
Yes, Kieran Pray, is it?
And I just want to ask, like, during reading, sometimes we feel like nappy or just sleepy. So, like, for more concentrations, what we have to do?
Coffee.
What?
Coffee. No, I'm joking. I'm sorry. When it comes to when you're feeling sleepy and nappy, then I think, are you talking about during the middle of the day or at night? Because for example, if it is at night, then I suggest just getting some sleep first. If you feel sleepy or nappy during the middle of the day, I would suggest taking just taking a short nap, like I would say 15 to 30 minutes. Yeah, to help you.
But sometimes we have a proper nap, and after that, when we just hold a book in our hands, and it feels like the words are going over in our mind, and like just sleep. I don't know, like why. Whenever I do, I feel same as like this.
Oh, really? Okay. Sorry to hear that. It's usually a very unfortunate thing that happens, but if you do feel sleepy during your readings, it's important that you should know your limits. Know your limits. And if you feel that you can no longer continue reading, stop. And take a break, do something else, go out for a walk, or do something that you want to enjoy doing, and go back to your reading once you feel that you are more refreshed in handling in handling the reading. So that it would be my suggestion for you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So also, Summer was saying also, drinking tea or coffee, always works for me. You can do that. Exercising is also pretty good. Maybe do something outside. Go out for a walk, get some fresh air. Yeah, would be important. Very useful way of doing things. Yeah. Thank you, Summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from other members of the audience? None? No. Okay. Well, in this case, this would be the now the end of the meeting. Thank you everyone for coming to my workshop. I hope that you have gained some better understanding of more reading skills. Be aware of what certain methods you can actually change if necessary, and hopefully you have gained something out of this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at lewis.leung, Leung, at canadahanson.com, and I'll be happy to answer your questions as much as I can. Okay? Yeah. Thank you very much, and take care.
Thanks, Lewis.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.